you seen these Google effects?
What are they just like filters or something?
How terrifying is this?
Oh, I'm not looking at it. Hold
on. Yeah, you're gonna see this in your nightmares.
Yeah, I mean it's not normal.
No, do you think like furry sex chat with these faces? That's terrifying. That's something you see in your nightmares. Okay, we can get rid of this crap, and then
we'll like that very much.
No, I don't like it either. I'll never use those again. Here we go. Let's see. It's 10:49. Okay, so our first break will be 11:02, 11:03ish. Here we go.
You're listening to The Weigh-In with Mike Parson.
What are you cackling at, fatty? Too much pie, that's your problem.
And Fred Slow.
Anybody want a peanut?
On demand 24/7 at weighinradio.com.
So the week after Fred Slow rocketed to fame in the Granite City Telegraph.
Okay, that doesn't make a ton of sense.
What's that?
It doesn't make any sense.
Well, you had that newspaper write-up last week, right?
Right. It's not from Granite City.
Where is it from?
I mean, it's from Alton.
Alton. The Alton Telegraph, where your face and your story was shared to tens of thousands of people. And,
that's a low number, Mike. And I haven't put out a senior prom picture since last week. What about you?
Wait, I don't remember you putting out a senior prom picture.
Oh, that's what that picture in the paper looked like. It looked like I was at my senior prom. Like
it looked like you were superimposed.
I hate it. I was so mad about that, and I just get mad. I get upset about things that I shouldn't.
Well, emotions aren't rational. Anger is an emotion. Ergo, it doesn't make sense when you get angry, but it's an emotion. You know
Are you quoting The Matrix to me?
No, that was me.
Oh.
Dash Mike Parsons. You know what I found interesting, Fred? Everybody when they first heard that you had a write-up in the newspaper, we all had the same reaction. Oh, did you mention me in it? How many?
I got that. Yeah, I got that a lot.
I was going to say, because when you told me, I said, oh, did you mention this podcast? And you're like, no. Kyle, my other co-host on Turn the Radio Off, he got mad and said, if Fred Slow gets a write-up, I get a write-up. And I said, that's not really a rule.
It seems like that is it might not be a rule, but it may be an understanding, right? Because I got that from a lot of people. So I kind of a slow week at work, right? So I went to the Cardinals baseball game, ran into a bunch of people I know. They're making fun of me about it. I went to my dad's bonfire. His buddies are like, I've lived in town all my life. Where's my write-up? I'm like, well, I don't really know. Everyone else, why are you on the front page of my newspaper? Leave me alone.
Well, I mean, and I guess the question, maybe the question is, why is Fred Slow on the front page of my newspaper? I am just as charismatic and skilled at my what's the word?
Chosen profession?
Obscure job.
Yes.
Why don't I get a write-up? And your wife said, so #proud wife, but I only got one mention. So when you show up at a newspaper article or on TV or in a news piece, everyone you know who is not mentioned in said article or news piece is going to get mad at you. I guess next time you get a write-up, Fred, you have to have a long list of people who you'd like to thank or who you'd like to show up in the. My third grade teacher, Miss Johnson. Thank you for encouraging my passion. For, what's that for finger paint?
Yeah. Thank you for preparing me for fourth grade, where I didn't realize the tumultuous end I would have. No, I understand exactly what you're saying, Mike. What I didn't prepare myself for, because I didn't know, because with the radio world, lots of people hear your voice, right? Like all the time, you talk and you open up the texter and you know they're there, and you take calls and you know they're there, and you go to these events and you know they're there. But outside of radio, they just don't care. They don't give a single shit. So so now that it's in the paper, which I guess is a more validified source of information, I don't understand the paper part of it. And I feel like there's a group of people who avoided it completely, right? So it's and I don't want to use the word jealousy, because it's not a big deal. It's the front page of the local paper that they claim hits 100,000 subscribers. What I'm saying is if you have such a problem with someone else being in the paper, like I feel like your priorities are probably a little off.
You know, Fred, I made the local rec center's newsletter, and let me say, all of my grandma's friends were quite impressed.
No, but that's serious because I actually write the newsletter for our rec center because that's part of my day job, and people will levy to have their kids' photos in there.
Right?
Like, I took this picture at the ice cream social. Make sure you get Junior eating during the pie eating competition. No, I'm not going to make sure of that.
They're trying to push their propaganda agenda in the rec center newsletter. Do you know the power you have, Fred? You don't even know. And maybe that's why people are so mad, because they feel like you're wielding your influence in that newsletter, and now you're spilling over into legitimate news sources.
This is a classic Batman situation where because I don't want it, that's the reason I deserve it.
Right. With great power comes great responsibility. I know that's a Spider-Man, but you know what I get. By the way, later on, Fred, we have breaking Golden Girls news.
Is there a bump?
I think there's a stupid one here in there's so many stupid things in this Google Hangout. Let's see here. Later on, we've got breaking Golden Girls news.
Yeah.
Overwhelming.
I don't have my soundboard. In the old studio, we had a soundboard, right? It was just like an iPad that we converted. And so I would play the breaking news thing literally every time someone was like, yeah, I had a thought. And there it is. Go. Like breaking news.
Right, because normally they don't have a thought. You know what else was underwhelming, Fred? I'm not sure if you have them. The numbers here. How did everybody like that Floyd Mayweather fight last night?
There's no turnout for it, man. I can't find numbers on it anywhere, which I think means
nobody was watching it.
Did not do well at all, man.
Well, here's the thing, okay? When did he fight Manny Pacquiao or whatever? How long ago was that?
That was May 2nd.
Okay, and everybody ordered it, even people who don't follow boxing. And of course, you know, the small percentage who follow boxing who probably watched it last night, they probably thought that the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight lived up to expectations. But, you know, the Johnny-come-lately bandwagon fans, I'm just watching this because it's an event, got all pissed off that Floyd Mayweather, you know, he won with defense or whatever the hell makes him a boring fighter. I don't know if they were expecting Rocky versus Ivan Drago, but, you know, back in May when that fight was a flop, I was kind of laughing at the people who said the fight sucked because, like I said, from what I understand, anyone who follows boxing knew what they were getting into. And number two, they paid $100 for that fight. And after everybody said it sucked, I said, you know what? This next one, the next Floyd Mayweather fight, nobody's going to watch it.
Manny Pacquiao did not watch this fight.
No,
No, he tweeted pictures of himself playing with apps on his phone, Mike. So the people who love the game more than anyone, like the guys who are involved in the game, didn't watch it. That's how you know it's kind of a shit game, man. Yeah. Like no one's playing right now. Like,
well, I think Manny Pacquiao wasn't knocked out by Floyd Mayweather's right hook. He was knocked out by boredom during the fight back in May.
Well, and allegedly knocked out by his Floyd Mayweather's IV full of HGH and human growth and PHP and everything else you can put into your body illegally, allegedly.
That's how you get the edge. And you know, speaking of Mayweather, him and Ronda Rousey have had this quote unquote beef going on. And you know, speaking of people who are bigger than anything a couple of weeks ago, you know, Ronda Rousey, she's been around for 2 years, and she is milking this thing for all it's worth. I guess her and The Rock have the same agent, which, you know, that besides Kris Jenner, there's no agent you probably rather have. And I guess she is starring now. And a lot of my millennial friends who get really upset about remakes, they're the type who are 30 and they're saying, "Oh, you're ruining our childhood with this remake." Well, they were really pissed because I guess Ronda Rousey is going to star as the Patrick Swayze character in a reboot of Roadhouse.
Ooh, flannel shirts are going to trend through the roof.
I've never seen the original Roadhouse, but I imagine that there's a lot of peanut shells in the floor all over the scenes.
It's a good one as far as like Swayze hits go. It's not Point Break.
Dirty Dancing.
It's not Dirty Dancing. It's not Ghost. It's not some of the ones. It's not that 5-minute sketch on Saturday Night Live with Chris Farley. But it's good, and the premise behind it, Mike, is loner, vagabond, nomad, Patrick Swayze / Ronda Rousey for the rest of the story.
Yeah.
Has to, the only way she can really cut her teeth is by bouncing at dive bars. So she takes a job in the sleaziest part of town, just doing her best. By the way, she's super kind-hearted, doing her best to remove
with a heart of gold. That's classic.
Yeah. Misguided, and she's just there, and she pays cash for everything, and then she moves on to the next town. Except this time, something's different, and it's personal.
So wait, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I was just going to say that if you haven't seen the original Roadhouse, I would highly recommend you see it before the remake. Otherwise, the remake will seem like the original to you, and then you've created like a paradox and never escape. So
that's how I feel with Star Wars. The Star Wars franchise has just passed me by because I never saw the first three, and then the whole way through. And most people ostracize me from their lives when they hear that. But and now there's all those prequels. So what do? Do I watch episode 1, 2, 3, and then the 3 originals that are actually episode 4, 5, and 6? Do I watch the original 3 Star Wars, wait 30 years, and then watch the prequels and be disappointed? I mean, how at this point, how do I get the Star Wars experience? I don't have enough life in me, Fred. I'll be dead. I'll be dead by the time I can execute that.
You need to stay out of the rabbit hole, Mike, is what you need to do. Okay, don't go down it, because now with the way Disney owns Star Wars, you have to watch every single cartoon they put out. You have to read all the books. You have to go to the amusement park. The canon has just become too large. If you didn't take it in organically, do not try to force it.
And I don't think I'm going to. I'm just going to be me. And on my deathbed, I may regret it, but whatever. But so back to this Roadhouse premise. So the Patrick Swayze / Ronda Rousey character, they have a boyhood or childhood dream to be a bouncer. And in order to work their way up to the bouncer ladder, they go to dive bars and in hopes of making what's the major leagues of bouncer gigs? Is it like Scores in New York? Is it Studio 51?
See, but those places don't need his help. Those places already have like a setup, right? So he goes like in Roadhouse, Patrick Swayze, whose buddy obviously is Sam Elliott, convinces him that he needs to be at Roadhouse so that he can help like this like struggling business owner like succeed. And that, by the way, that struggling business owner like is super charitable and maybe has like a sick child. And also he like employs like handicapped performers. So like the singer on stage is like a blind guy, and every waitress is like, like putting their kids through college because like her millionaire boyfriend left her. It's just everyone there is in the worst situation of their life.
They're just trying to make lemonade out of dog poop.
Yeah, you know that song Hotel California, where I guess it's about maybe like doing drugs or purgatory or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's about being in hell.
Yeah, very similar. That's the whole premise of Roadhouse. It's that song converted to movie.
Wow.
With the protagonist of Patrick Swayze.
So it's a rock opera, is what you're telling me.
No, there's no. Yeah, that's actually, now that you've said that, it's a bad example because no, there's no singing. But there is excitement, which I think often follows singing.
That's true. Many people feel their excitement through singing. So
yeah, it's excellent. If Meatloaf had been in it, it would have been one of perhaps the greatest rock opera of all time.
Is it too late to cancel Rousey on the deal and get Meatloaf in there? I'd go see that.
I loved him in Fight Club. Thought that was great.
Was he Fight Club?
Didn't he play the big guy with the man boobs?
Maybe. I don't know. It's been so long since I've seen it. But, this is interesting, Fred, because this is the second of a big reboot where female characters are playing the male leads. Of course, Roadhouse and the Ghostbusters reboot. Pardon me. And my voice is cracking. I'm becoming a man. But it'll be very interesting to see how these two movies do. If these two movies do well, you can bet that you're going to see a whole bunch of franchises rebooted with females as the lead. And if not, then the female reboot is going to just go by the wayside. I think a lot of people would like to see a Brokeback Mountain reboot with two women. I think that would be very successful.
I heard that the new Ghostbusters movie had actually cast Kim Davis as one of the Ghostbusters, but she doesn't believe in ghosts.
Yeah, she plays Slimer, I think.
You know what I don't love it forced, Mike. I think if you find the actor or actress who's right for the part and they put forth the effort and it's going to be the absolute blockbuster movie, you want it to be awesome, but don't try to give me a black Bond. James Bond is a white guy, okay?
Yeah, like, you're sounding like the Kim Davis of racism right now.
England is like 80% white people. You can't make a secret agent black.
I hope the next Bond is a Muslim. Take that.
Doesn't really apply. That doesn't make.
I do think the new Ghostbusters with the women. I think that might actually do well.
Well, a lot of those girls aren't they like really good writers? The way I understand it, like.
Yeah, they got
Wig is funny.
She's hit or miss with me, but she can be fun. When she hits, she's good. Kate McKinnon's very good. Melissa McCarthy, I've only seen her in St. Vincent. That was more of a dramatic role, but she was good in that. And then they got I think Leslie Jones is the woman's name.
Oh, the black girl. She's hilarious on Saturday Night Live. I thought Sigourney Weaver was in it, or am I making that up?
I think there's going to be cameos. I think that because I saw Bill Murray listed on the IMDb, you bastard, because the reason they didn't make a Ghostbusters while Harold Ramis was still alive because Bill Murray didn't want to do it. Now, all of a sudden, Harold Ramis dies, and Bill Murray's like, oh, yeah, I'll be in this one.
Is that so? Because the story I thought I always heard was Rick Moranis, he had left acting to his wife had, become stricken with cancer, and she had passed. And he had left Hollywood to support his family. I thought that was the holdup, or is that not true?
As far as because Ghostbusters 3 has been rumored to be coming out forever, and there was actually a Stern interview with Bill Murray where Bill Murray said, "Yeah, they keep asking me to do Ghostbusters 3. I should do it. I don't feel like doing it." But you're right. Rick Moranis did leave acting for a little bit, but they could have made a Ghostbusters without Rick Moranis. Just do what they did when the chick who played Adrian didn't want to do a new Rocky. Just write her in as dead.
But he was Porthos. Like he was like a gigantic part of the story arc.
Yeah, well, in the first one, in the second one, he was a big player, but they could have worked around no Moranis. But I think Moranis signed on a couple of years ago, and Murray was the only holdout.
Yeah, you're probably right because I don't know enough about it. But I also think there's a case of like you can't confirm something to me 10 times and then finally do it. Because I feel like I've seen on Twitter, Ghostbusters 3 confirmed, big announcement coming up, whatever. But it's never been like actually made. So like, you're kind of like an idiot now. Like if you just make it. So
right,
I'm not about that.
Yeah. Okay. We got to hit a break here. It is the weigh-in, weighинradio.com. Okay, we went a bit long with that one, but that's okay. This next one will be this will be your segment here. So let's see. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I was just looking at this. I don't know where I heard this Moranis stuff because I can't find anything on it. I might have just made that up.
No, you're right. He did leave acting for a while.
Because you're saying that he is the whole of that. I think that's something I literally think I just lied. I think I just created that.
No, you were I mean, you might have been mistaken, but it's not a lie. It's not a lie if you think it's true when you say it.
That's not true.
What's that?
There's no way that's true.
Yeah, it is. Lying is when you tell someone when you tell something that's not true deliberately. If you tell someone something that's false when you think it's real, it's just you're just mistaken. That's all. Okay, so it's 11:08. So we'll try it. We'll shoot to break at 11:20. So here we go. And like I said, this segment's you. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Now, back to the weigh-in.
I'm a little worried about being a slut.
WeighInRadio.com.
It's Weigh In Radio on caveradiobroadcasting.com and theweighIn.com. I am Fred Slow alongside Mike Parsons. Mike, happy Patriots Day, man.
Thank you. Yes. Patriots week, actually.
Oh, is it a week now?
Yeah.
A couple days late because we do the podcast on the weekend, which, by the way, why can't we figure out how to just start on time? Like, if it's not a technical thing or me like just disregarding your time, like we have never started on time.
Yeah. Well, if you show a little respect and get here on time, we would be on time. But that's the problem. That's the problem with podcasting, Fred, is that it's a hobby that you do whenever. So we've talked about this on other shows. You know, there's a lot of podcasts that start. They like do 3 of them, and they come out like the second one comes out a week after the first one. Then the third one comes out 3 months later, and then they stop. So we're doing okay.
Accountability is what we need. We need accountability from the audience. We need accountability from the listener.
We also need an audience and a listener.
Damn. Formula. First we get the audience, then we get the bitches.
Yeah. First we get the audience, then we get the listener. And then we get a write-up in the Elton, Illinois Telegraph.
That's very rude. The one thing I try to talk about every single week, because I feel like every single person can relate to it, Mike, cringy shit I see on Facebook. 9/11 has become the point of the spear when it comes to cringiness on Facebook, in my opinion. I don't know if you see this as often as I do.
No, you're right. And I think with this, a lot of people are well-intentioned, but their execution and their tact is lacking.
Your personal 9/11 story, unless you're like, what's that kid's name? Pat Davidson? Is he the Saturday Night Live kid?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I've got that right here. Hold on. Pete Davidson.
Yeah, Pete Davidson. Sorry, Pete. Who actually has a 9/11 story. Whose father actually died during 9/11. Unless you're one of those, maybe 20,000 people or so, I feel like your personal 9/11 story is not, and this is going to sound so un-American, is just not relevant, man. Like, just maybe keep that you were sitting on your couch and you just couldn't believe the news and you picked up your phone and called your dad. Like, everyone has that story. Like, I don't know what you're trying to prove here. I don't know what you're trying to say.
Well, the thing about 9/11, and in a weird way, it kind of illustrates how good we have it here in America, because a terrorist attack that happened 14 years ago is seared in our memory because it shook us up so badly. And the reason it shook us up so badly is because that never happens here. We don't live in a country, luckily, where
you're making a good point.
Yeah, where you walk down the street and you have to worry about a bomb going off at the supermarket. So it was very traumatic for us because we have it very good here. And despite all the scare tactics that are out there, despite a thing or two here that slips through the cracks, we have very good intelligence. And it's in a weird way, it's a luxury to be so traumatized by something terrible that happened 14 years ago. But we're still traumatized by it. And I think that, obviously we're reminded of it every September 11th. Anytime you hear people talking about 911, you think of September 11th. And I think that's just it's part of the ongoing healing process that's going on. And I think it's akin to people venting. I really don't have a problem with people's 9/11 stories. I'm not necessarily interested in them. What I kind of have a problem with is people people, they'll write their long diatribe and say, back then, those days, we were no longer black, white,
Yep.
we were Americans. And that's a great message. But a lot of those same people later on, I saw them posting about how come the president's trying to bring in these Syrians? There's Muslims, and on 9/11, they post something xenophobic against Muslims, and it's just like, what did you just say 5 minutes ago about us on the days after 9/11 being all Americans, no religion, no race, just all Americans, and now you're talking about how the president wants to welcome in Muslims to the country, and that moderate Islam is a lie and everything. It's just that's what I have a problem with, Fred.
And the other side of that coin is the guy who is intolerant of people who he believes, I guess who he knows committed 9/11. But then you'll see that same thing where it's like, hey, after Pearl Harbor, Hiroshima didn't whatever, and it's like, in my opinion, the answer is not like nuking people. That's my opinion. Maybe you don't feel that way, but like if your only answer and no other conversation can be had, you're not even going to hear a conversation about any alternative except for like complete annihilation. I feel like it's not a conversation I can really become a part of.
Right, especially right after it happened.
Yeah.
People like, let's turn the Middle East into a parking lot. Well, number one, there's no possible way we can do that. We can't just go over there and level the entire nuclear Middle East, with nuclear weaponry.
It's crazy to me to think that there are millions of Americans who feel that genocide is a legit option for anything.
Well, and you know what? I mean, a lot of times it's a knee-jerk emotional reaction. They're pissed because
knee-jerk at 14 years, dog.
What's that?
If at the 14-year mark, it's no longer a knee-jerk. Like, you've had a ton of time to process this.
Well, and you know what I've noticed too on this 14th year, I think that the remembrance has been a little more appropriate. Obviously, we have to acknowledge it because it was a turning point in our civilization. It's something that we obviously never want to happen again. But it seemed like, it used to be like it used to seem like we would almost masochistically dwell on it. We would force ourselves to be mournful all day. And of course, your heart goes out to the people who've lost loved ones that day. But it seems like people used to use it as a excuse to scold, to scold some, invisible citizen out there who didn't realize the importance of the event. It seemed like this year, it's on the 14th anniversary, people acknowledged it, and then they kind of moved on with their day and their lives. And actually, I think, George W. Bush, say what you will about his presidency after, I thought he was on his game the days and weeks after 9/11. And he said that. He said, look, we're going to mourn, we're going to rebuild, and we're going to move on with our lives because we can't let this disrupt our daily lives. If we disrupt our daily lives because of this, then this line is becoming cliche, Fred. But the terrorists win, and he was right.
Everything you're saying is on point. Everything you're saying, I think, is completely rational and works for me as a friend of yours and a fan of yours. Unfortunately, there's a vocal minority, Mike, that does not think like logically about this thing. There's a vocal minority that says on 9/11, as I'm literally outside my office lowering my flag to hat staff because that's the federal mandate today. When I come back inside to check out my social media feed, there's a guy that's telling me how it's an inside job and a conspiracy and my government's out to kill me. And if I don't wake up, then every sheeple in the world will be killed. Like, that's what I'm saying here. There's, for every guy who has couth and understanding, there's a far smaller percentage that, in my opinion, is far louder. And maybe it's not. Maybe I just find it for whatever reason.
No, you're absolutely right, Fred. And go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, and I was going to say, and that puts me in a position where I feel that you have to just have more understanding of the situation to where you don't say those things. You be an adult. You have not an adult. That's a bad example. You be mature, though. I mean, you give a little respect on the one day, man. There's 364 other days when you can spend your Snopes articles. Like, like on the one day, just chill out.
Well, it's funny, Fred, because I see that stuff every day. You know, I have a lot of different people on my Facebook friends list. And yeah, they're posting every day about that. They're posting on 9/11 about that. And have you noticed that the people who are always typing in all caps, "Wake up America," and calling everyone sheeple, they seem to be the most gullible?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, yeah. I've had these debates with people, and it's hard to debate with them because they spend more time on their 9/11 conspiracy theories than you do. So they have a whole bunch of stuff ready to go, and even though it's probably false, it's probably nonsense, you haven't done as much time doing the research to debunk those conspiracy theories as they have pushing their conspiracy theories.
Well, none of these conspiracy theories are homebrewed. These are all things they've just absorbed. So if they're absorbing a video, or they're absorbing what more than likely is going to be an easily findable article, somebody out there has already defunct it. It's already been done. The work is finished, and it's people that are choosing to not do that. It's people who are choosing to, and I don't want to keep stealing catchphrases, but people are choosing to embrace the hate, or embrace the ignorance, or embrace the idea that there's a 1984-ish larger power at hand that for whatever reason is trying to turn this person into a victim. And if you follow these people personally or know them personally, they're often a victim of many things. You know, they're mistreated in every aspect of their life. They can't get through the grocery checkout, without being isolated or singled out or whatever. So because of social media, which I feel like I bitch about every single week, which is so crazy to me. But
it's a huge part of our life. It's, I mean, that's how we communicate.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. But man, I don't know. I don't say F Santa Claus on Christmas. And there are certain things you just don't do. And I think this is one of them. The joke involved in the whole thing, which if there is one to tell, is, corporate America, like big business and corporations and organizations. I have, and maybe this is just my own pet peeve, I have a huge problem with you taking a 9/11 memorial photo of, like, I don't know, say like the two spotlights shining up. That it's a pretty classic photo. Everyone's seen it. And then right on the front of it, you just throw like your CBS logo.
Right, using it to promote. Right.
Yeah, that that is the kind of thing that just kind of turns my stomach over a little bit. Do not give me a 20% discount because 9 + 11 = 20. Do not do things like that.
Was someone really doing that?
Yeah, these are real things. Like,
God.
Well, and I'm not saying I'm not saying Starbucks is doing it, but I'm saying like local yoga studio is doing it. I'm saying like people who I feel like, and I keep using the word couth, should just have more couth, should know better, don't know better. And then, like I said, I don't feel super comfortable going to CVS because you're
afterward, right? Because you're contributing to the data that shows that crap like this pays off.
Ugh. It's touchy, and I don't know the final spin on it, Mike. And I don't know if you thought we were going to go here with this. I do have a day job where I manage at or near 50 part-time employees, and they're all between the ages like 15 and 21. And these kids don't have a story of where they were. These kids, we're getting to that point now where we're almost a generation out from this thing happening, and it is slowly becoming lost to the youth. And I have never really recognized anything like that before until now. And it's kind of like a coming of age feeling for me, like watching, like explaining it to these kids,
It's probably how our grandparents felt about Pearl Harbor, It's probably
I agree.
memory because they were alive. But, you and I were born 40-some years after it happened. So we've heard about it in the history book. We memorized it long enough for our history test, and we forget about it because we just have no concept about, that day. And in reading people's 9/11 stories, there were some interesting ones. And, when I was watching it, I was 16. I didn't feel like I was watching the news. I felt like I was watching an action movie. But there were people who were in other places far away from New York where they say panic was setting in because people were fearing for their lives because they didn't know where that next plane was going to hit. And I have a feeling there's a similar feeling of panic on Pearl Harbor Day. And, with us, we think of Pearl Harbor Day. We forget about it after a history test. And, even if we do remember it, we're so far removed from it that it doesn't really have an impact on us.
When me and you have never talked about December 7th. We never one time have been like, hey, December 7th, 1941, let's talk about our feelings and emotions. We don't have them. So you're right.
I learned about it in 10th grade.
In a position where I do help a lot of kids grow. I help a lot of kids like become what I hope to be functioning members of society and maybe give back a little bit if their heart allows them to. When I'm explaining to them like the facts of the situation and exactly the way I just talked to you about it, I don't like to give my emotion to it. I don't really like to give my personal like I was driving in my car listening to the local college radio station. Like that doesn't matter, But what I do try to do is aside from conveying the message, they know the dates, just like you said. They know 9/11. They know the story because they learned it just like we learned in Pearl Harbor. But what I do try to do is let them leave with like a feeling, because feelings, in my opinion, are far more powerful than like explanations, right? So
that's why we remember every detail of that day because because of the strong feelings tied to them. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. And I don't know. It's a tough situation for me as we get a little older and we can look at things a little more clearly. Still probably one of the most traumatic days of my life. But as far as my personal loss goes, nothing. Like I was not personally affected, except for the TSA. But yeah, it's a tough thing, man. And I want to give it the respect it deserves. And I just wish everyone else would. I just don't find that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's because social media, it takes our id and it amplifies it because we feel safe behind a keyboard. We feel safe behind our phone screens being as awful as we want to be because we have this feeling of anonymity, but then we're posting it on a profile that has all of our personal information. And, I have a feeling that people would get along a lot better without it. But yeah, it's weird. I mean, Fred, I'm sure I'm sure you know a bunch of people who I call them Facebook douches. In person, they're completely pleasant. You get along with them. You like their personality. Then you go on their Facebook profile. It's like, oh my God, inside this person's head, they are terrible.
Well, I was out last night at the local bar. I had a friend of the Two of the Skydive program, which if you follow any of my history, go back to those archives. Buddy of mine, Aaron McCoy, he's moving away to Houston. He's having a nice going away party. Anyways, I'm at the bar and I run into a guy that I know has deleted me on Facebook because I made fun of his racist post. So
yeah,
me and this guy frequent the same places. Me and this guy know the same people, but because I can easily poke fun at his ignorant Confederate flag attitude, that he's then better. He's too good to be friends with me on a social networking site where you're literally friends with thousands of people you do not know.
Well, people hate being challenged. I think people get a worldview and they wrap that worldview around themselves like a comfortable blanket. And they're like, okay, good. The world makes sense. This is how I feel. This is why I feel it. I'm going to blast it all over social media. I'm going to wave my worldview flag. And then the second somebody challenges it, they get threatened. and they make a boogeyman out of you. Fred, you're challenging his racist post. You're just a minority sympathizer. You have no idea of the race war that's coming. So I think ignorant people, they get this worldview, and it's comfortable to them because it helps them make sense of the world. And when you challenge it, the world no longer makes sense, and they're scared again.
In 1995, when me and you were in AOL chat rooms, we did not tell people our real name. We did not tell people where we were from. We did not tell people anything that was true whatsoever.
I told people I was a lesbian with hot pics.
Yeah, I told people I lived on a beach because I thought beaches were cool. None of that was true.
I played football. I was the quarterback.
At 13, I'd been with like 100 girls.
Also, whatever your favorite band is, it's a poser band. It's not real punk. That's what I was telling people in 1995.
Oh, you're into Green Day? Cool. So's my uncle.
Yeah, Green Day has been punk since Dookie.
And that's not today, Mike. Today's the exact opposite. You put your face in and you own all these things like ideas and concepts and repost and shares. They're now not just crazy thoughts. They're literally your thoughts repackaged, and you will lose your job, and you will lose your friends, and you will lose respect, because we're at a day and age where you think, for whatever reason, and I think it's just a cultural thing, and I think social networks a giant part of it, you think your opinion or belief is more valid than the guy standing next to you, and that's going to absolutely fuck you. Like, you are not going to make it. You got to shake that, man. And not you individually, but you. Yeah, you the hothead kid, or you the, I don't know, the hopeless romantic. You just keep that stuff to yourself, because the less people know, the more people think, like, they'll think higher. I feel they'll think higher of you. It might not be true, I guess, but
no, you're right, Fred. Because like going back to the Facebook douche, not everyone who posts something I disagree with is a Facebook douche, but. Whenever there's a hot button issue like gay marriage or the Kim Davis thing or the Confederate flag thing, there's people who I'm friends with. There's people who I like, which oftentimes I'm very disappointed with because of, something that comes out about their opinions, letting their true colors show. And I'm sure I disappoint a lot of people too. But yeah, I find that to be a big bummer. And I don't cut these people out of my life. Well, what I do is I say, okay, you know what? I'm just not gonna talk to this person about this issue, because people are very nice. The world's full of very nice people until you start talking politics or one of these hot button issues, and then we're all assholes to somebody.
I got a very good friend, and he has a relative in jail. Okay. The situation is whatever the situation was. I've kind of promised him that I would never look it up. With that said, I do not talk about jail time with him. I do not talk about MSNBC's lockup. I do not talk about, because you just don't. You just tread lightly in those situations, because that's something he's very passionate about. He's very sensitive about, and that's true about a lot of topics. And in the past, you had to feel those topics out through conversation and through one-on-one interaction, and now you don't.
Yeah, and you know what, Fred? The stuff that we argue about, it's just a small part. It's just such a small part of the spectrum. I mean, if there's people out there who, and you know what, I'm so thankful for the people who I disagree with, who can have a civil, intelligent conversation with me, because I feel like that helps me learn more about my viewpoints. But for the people who, there's just sticking points that we will never agree on. There's so much other stuff to talk about. There's so much other stuff to bond over, that the 4 or 5 hot button issues that you disagree with, you could never talk about them and still have a wonderful friendship with somebody. My best friend, Rich, him and I, for the most part, we agree on things. There's a couple things we disagree on, but over the years, we've bonded over so many different things outside of that when we discuss something like that, we can have a good back and forth. But you don't have that luxury with everybody, because not everybody, as you said, Fred, is mature enough to listen to somebody challenging their viewpoint and have a back and forth without saying, you're an idiot, or you're a this or a that, and totally cutting you off.
Well, and I think you're hitting the nail on the head a little bit with maturity, because let's take like a not hot button issue. An issue around my town is you live in Detroit. It's kind of a depressed area. I live in St. Louis. It's kind of a depressed area. but you can make it if you sacrifice a lot of stuff, and maybe you get into like a service industry, or you become like a laborer, or if you do some things where it's hard work, it's a hard life, it's a hard existence. But your family's going to get by and it's going to do fine. Well, anyways, I'm not involved in any of that kind of stuff, right? I speak for a living. You know, I have a desk job. I wear a collar, but I'll run into these guys and they will try to convince me how their walk of life is more rewarding than mine, or how their walk of life is better. And that's the same kind of concept with these hot button issues. You know, your racism and your sexism and anything you're bigoted about. You don't have to try to convince everyone else to think the way you think. Period.
Exactly. And you know, I've seen this meme all over the place, and it's one of the few I agree with. You don't have to accept the invitation for every fight you're invited to.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I used to be a crusader, Fred. If I saw something I disagree with on Facebook, I had to comment on it, and then I would have to spend hours going back and forth into a 50 comment thread. Now, if I see somebody saying something that I think is very damaging, I'll say something. But you know, now if I disagree with it, okay, do I really want to dedicate the next 45 hours of my life to going back and forth with somebody, or do I want to watch the DVR with my wife? You know, you weigh those and realize that, hey, going around and around in circles with this person who you're not going to convince to go to the other side, you know, spending the next 45 minutes doing that, it's not worth it.
No, that I agree. Well, and especially those hot button ones, you're not going to change anyone's opinion for whatever reason. They're solidified. But oh my gosh, Mike, right behind you. But for like locally, you know, I work for a municipality, right? So I'll see like on my Facebook feed, like F the police or those kind of stuff. I kind of have a strong issue with that stuff because you don't really know, you know, like now you're saying some damaging things about people that I know and care about who do their absolute best to help people. Now, I'm not saying we have an issue, but when I do see you out, I'm not going to do it to you on Facebook. But when I see you at Applebee's, I'm going to say, you know, hey man, don't say F the police like that. What good is that ever going to do you?
Right, so you're going to take it up to somebody in person. Fred, you're a dying breed, but there should be more of you. We are way late for the break here, no, that's okay. Hey, you know, we start talking about stuff we're passionate about. That's what happens. It's the weigh-in, weighinradio.com, caveradiobroadcasting.com. Yeah, we were rolling with that, so I just decided to let it go.
Sorry, man.
No, don't even be sorry. Like I said, we were rolling with that, and I decided. And besides, I've only got some light stuff here, so
we got 6 minutes left. Is that what I'm saying?
We can do 10.
Yeah, you call it.
Okay, we can do 10. We start right now. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. I'll quarterback this one.
Now, back to the weigh-in.
I've been on the radio quite a bit, but I want to do it like as a part-time thing. Not to make money, but because I love hearing myself on the radio.
Weighinradio.com.
So, Fred, do you want to see the trailer for the Golden Girls porn parody?
More than anything, now that I just learned it existed.
Yeah, it just came out, and let's see. It's well, you know what? I'm going to show you the parody here, and if you're listening to us on the podcast, go. I would say fast forward to about 49 minutes in. And just wait for it. So let's see. I'm gonna try this. This is new technology to me. I'm going to screen share this.
Yeah, this should translate real well to the listener.
Well, that's why I'm telling people to. I'm driving traffic to the video here, Fred. Okay.
Okay, I'm seeing something. It's.
Are you seeing a website here where you see an airplane?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Here's the trailer. By the way, NSFW language. Here we go.
Thank you for fucking my friend. Granny pussy don't mean it's the end. We love dick, we love balls, but we're stuck inside of these four walls. And if you throw an OG, invited for broads to come, we'll lube up a slit and then we'll pull out your big dick, and the card attached would say, feels good, please do it again and again and again and again.
What matters is that we're all safe, we're all together, and we're all sexually satisfied.
I'm horny.
This creamer smells like sperm.
I am going to go ask Sophia if she wants to try the skin of float.
Rose,
shut the hell up. I haven't had a big, thick sausage in my mouth in 20 years.
So there you go. This ain't the Golden Girls XXL.
The opening, like the credits, that was like a shot-for-shot remake.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It wasn't quite the superhero remake. Have you ever seen the superhero remake?
The one with like Batman and Superman?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Well, you know what? I was, because when I first heard this, I said, okay, it's going to be younger actresses in wigs. And it's actually older actresses. I guess they said the oldest one is 53. I don't know. A lot of those women looked very old. And
Nina Hartley was in the game for a long time. Nina Hartley was like the name.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I saw Nina Hartley when I had Netflix. I watched a documentary called After Porn, and she is actually probably one of the most mentally stable porn stars. And she talked about, people in the game, like you said, and said that, there's a lot of people whose psyche can't handle this. If you grow up with shame, if you grew up in a religious household, you cannot be in porn because the guilt is going to kill you.
Yeah, I saw that same documentary, and I don't know what that Asian girl's name is. She kind of looks like Tia Carrera, but she's not.
It was Asia Carrera, I think her name is.
Asia Carrera. Okay, well that works. Yeah, because I think she went off the deep end. Like you can't make it, as like an actual person.
Well, a lot of people went off the deep end, and like I said, Nina Hartley says, look, you have to get into this, you have to have the right mindset about sex. A lot of people get into it because they're lashing out at, their fathers. They're trying to feed some kind of addiction, to be a porn star. And it was funny because a lot of the guy porn stars, they were well adjusted. Like, hey, cool. I had sex for money. I made a lot of money. Now I golf. But a lot of these women, because women feel guiltier about sex, whether that's a guilt they put on themselves or society puts on themselves. Yeah, like they're two of the women were very well adjusted, and the rest were like, I hate myself. I hated myself. I'm starting my life over. I'm trying to get my real estate license. And then at the end, it showed everyone kind of coming to terms with their past, saying, look, I'm not going into porn again. I've got a family. I've got a new career. And then at the end, it said, so-and-so had to go back into porn because of money troubles. And it made me sad.
For guy or girl, if your claim to fame, if your notoriety is like b-hole stuff, you're not going to feel good about yourself.
I mean, maybe you might. Why should you feel bad about yourself? I mean, here's the thing. I don't know why people put so much shame on folks who take their clothes off, whether it be in porn movies, whether it be on the internet, because, those of us watching it, we don't feel shame about it. We don't talk about it maybe, but it doesn't ruin our self-esteem. There was this girl I went to college with, and I guess, she did some cam modeling. And, someone I don't know, but, someone who I know through mutual friends said that they went on her campsite and then they started, they paid her to do a bunch of stuff and then they started insulting her. It's like, why would you do that? You were getting your rocks off to it. So, why are you so much more virtuous than this person because you just happen to not be on camera doing it?
Well, like we said in the last segment, I mean, you got the keyboard in front of you, so you can do whatever you want. I think that's a giant part of it. But then secondly, more people go every single day, right, to Pornhub than people go on like Twitter, Google, and like ESPN and like combined. You know what I mean? Okay. So I think it's very safe to say that because of the privacy of your own home, and this goes back obviously starting with like VHS and then all the way up to now, in the privacy of your own home, porn in America has become very mainstream, right?
Right.
It's the most. It's not the most. It is far more acceptable today than we ever could have imagined, in the 80s. I know who Belle Knox is. Belle Knox is that college student from Duke who shoots pornography to pay for her tuition, right?
Exactly. Yeah, legitimately.
That is not going to be so irregular anymore.
Well, yeah, and all I'm saying is that, look, if you watch porn, then then you have no right to look down on the people who are performing porn because they're providing a service that you're after. So, I mean, you can feel all high and mighty looking down on people who do porn for a living, but you're watching it. So what makes you so much better than the people who are making it?
I'm 30, Mike. A lot of my friends are also 30. In their older age, they've become crotchety old men, right? And they have less acceptance for other people's ideas and beliefs and practices, blah, blah, blah. And I feel like I'm the exact opposite. I feel like as I've gotten older, I'm far more accepting. I let your freak flag fly. You do you. As long as you're not harming yourself or someone else, I'm perfectly fine, right?
Exactly. I'm live and let live.
Yes, absolutely. I grew up in the Midwest. When I was younger, I was told not to like gays. Well, that changed when I got into the real world and I saw that they're just like everyone else, right?
They're not trying to convert you.
No, they're perfectly fine people. And I do not think that...
Hey, look, the heteros can have you, Mike. You're bad for our brand.
It's never happened to me, but I feel like it would be a crushing blow if I was shot down by a gay guy. Like if I was really going for it and he was like, nah, just sorry, man.
See, if I got shot down by a gay guy, it'd make perfect sense because I hear gay guys are much pickier than straight women. I mean, Fred, look at me. I'd be a terrible gay guy.
Oh, yeah. You are unkept.
I mean, my grooming. I mean, look, my basic hygiene. I do what I have to do, but when it comes to grooming myself to look well, when it comes to dressing, be a terrible, terrible gay guy.
If I should get this, I'm right next to my closet, man. I should get this camera right now, and just every single shirt in this closet is either a Henley. It's a Henley or it's a button-down dress up. That's all I own, man. I own two kinds of shirts. Right.
This shirt right here, perfectly fine lesbian attire. Gay guy attire, I would never get laid ever.
Do you remember in like 2003, like Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, and like the big like it's time to figure it out, America. Like mainstream TV is going to tell kids that gays are okay, and we're not going to convert anyone right now. But 10 years from now, when these kids are consumers, they're going to be cool with gays. Well, we're 10 years from then, Mike. Like everyone is cool with everything because they've been told for long enough that everything is fine.
Right, and it is fine. And we got to go here. So a couple things. Number one, I think Ellen DeGeneres has done more for gay acceptance than anyone because when she mentioned that she was marrying Portia de Rossi, an entire nation of stay-at-home soccer moms who probably were very anti-gay 10 years before were cheering. And I thought that was a great, I thought that was a beautiful moment with us, coming of age as a culture. Also, this Golden Girls parody, I guess that Betty White is not happy with it. Nina Hartley says that she knows for a fact that Betty White hates the idea of a Golden Girls porn parody, which is stupid because Betty White's whole entire act now is to be a foul-mouthed grandma. So,
Betty White's probably pissed she's not getting those royalties, but she needs to understand parody law.
Yeah.
We can make fun of anything we want.
Right. And Betty White, you've been the foul-mouthed grandma ever since that Snickers commercial reminded people they liked you. So live by the sword, die by the sword.
Okay, Mike, that's terrible. She started in Stop or My Mom Will Shoot. That was in the 90s. Figure it out.
I think that was Estelle Getty. We'll have to look that up. Anyway, Fred, live by the clock, die by the clock. We got to go. No times for goodbyes. Bye. All right.
I think you're right. I think it was Estelle Getty.
Yeah, that's okay. So I think we started about 2 minutes into my recording. So I think that we have enough time for like 1:30, a 30-minute, break. But that's fine because it keeps the show going by quick. I'm going to stop our broadcast here.